Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing some Floowandereeze test hands. I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Mimi. And this deck is an amazing deck that's been doing very well competitively, and it's just a super fun deck to play. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this, and definitely give Mimi some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. Let's get straight on into this. So this deck is really fun to play because it revolves around tribute summoning and normal summoning, which is really amazing, especially for an old school player like me that just really loves the old school way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh, especially with this deck because it's just really fun. It's why I love Monarch so much, because tribute summoning was the original way that you played Yu-Gi-Oh. Being able to summon out a really powerful monster by tributing two monsters on your side of the field is just really awesome, especially when you have powerhouse monsters in this deck like Rise of the Mega Monarch and Floowandereeze Impin, which is just a crazy powerful card. So you guys know it's dad rule number one. We had to pile shuffle the deck because even in a really consistent deck like this, you still might break if you don't pile shuffle. So let's go ahead and give the deck a quick shuffle and see what we can do for our first test hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Call by the Grave, a copy of Book of Moon, a copy of Pot of Duality, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Floowandereeze and the Advent for Adventure. So we have the copy of our Pot of Duality, so we can dig into the deck, and as long as we hit any Winged Beast card, you can use the Advent for Adventure to get to Rabina, which is really cool because we have three really powerhouse spell cards to back it up. So we're going to go ahead and look at the top three cards of the deck, which is a copy of Harpy's Harpist, a copy of Eaglin, and a copy of Pot of Duality, which we're actually going to grab the copy of Eaglin to be able to use with the copy of Advent for Adventure, which we're just going to shuffle these back into the deck and go ahead and go for our play. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and send the copy of Pot of Duality to the graveyard and then use Advent for Adventure to be able to use its effect to banish a Winged Beast monster or hand, or face up from the field to add a Floowandereeze monster or a Floowandereeze field spell from our deck to our hand, and then we gain 500 life points. So we're going to go ahead and banish the copy of Eaglin, which we're going to get back in just a minute, which is really good actually to be able to banish that because we have a really awesome play that I'm going to show you guys in this deck. So we're going to go ahead and search the copy of Rabina because Rabina is the bread and butter combo of the deck to be able to normal summon that card first and then go for all of your really crazy plays. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and at this point, we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of Rabina, and once we normal summon out that copy of Rabina to the field, we can go ahead and grab back the copy of Eaglin as Chainlink 1 Rabina and Chainlink 2 Eaglin. Once we grab that copy of Eaglin back to our hand, we can then use the copy of Rabina to be able to grab in the deck a copy of a level 4 or lower Winged Beast monster. So we're going to grab the copy of our Barrier Statue of the Storm Winds, which is really good to be able to grab that card and just immediately get it to the hand, because you have some really powerful plays that I'm going to show you guys with that card. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and normal summon the Eaglin, which will let us search the deck for another Winged Beast monster, which we're actually going to search the deck for a copy of Impin at this point, because Impin is really good at this point to be able to just summon it to our field. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and at this point we can go ahead and tribute both of these monsters because the copy of the Eaglin will give us an additional normal summon to normal summon out our copy of Impin. Now the copy of Impin will go off and let us search the deck for a Speller Trap that's a Floowandereeze Speller Trap, and then we get to normal summon again, which I usually like to grab Dreaming Town because it gives us an additional normal summon, which is really nice. Now we've already grabbed our copy of Eaglin once this turn, so we can now grab the copy of Rabina if we want to, but we cannot grab Eaglin, which is the only downside to this effect, because actually before we even grab this card, we're going to go Chainlink 1 and Chainlink 2, grab the copy of Rabina, and then search the copy of Dreaming Town. Now at this point, we're going to get an additional normal summon. So I'm going to normal summon out the copy of the Barrier Statue of Storm Winds, which is going to be a really powerful play, because then I'm going to set the copy of Dreaming Town, Call by the Grave, and the copy of Book of Moon, which is just going to help us out a lot. So at this point, we're going to pass over to the opponent, and immediately when they normal summon, because they're not going to be able to special summon anything but win, we can then chain on our side of the field the copy of our Dreaming Town, which gives us an additional normal summon. So we can normal summon Rabina. Rabina will be chain link 1, Eaglin will be chain link 2. Your copy of Eaglin will go back to hand, and then Rabina will go off searching a level 4 or lower, which can actually be a copy of Straya at this point, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to just get that copy of Straya to the hand. And then you can go ahead and use the effect of the Rabina to get that additional normal summon, which will be the copy of Eaglin to then get another search, which is a level 7 or higher wing beast monster that we're going to be searching from the deck, which at this point I usually like to grab my copy of Ryza, because Ryza is going to be able to bounce cards on the opponent's side of the field, because once they put 2 cards on the field, you can then tribute summon out the copy of Ryza and just bounce them, which is really good to put the copy of Ryza on the field, because this card is going to help you out a lot, because it has the ability that you can tribute this card by tributing 1 tribute summon monster, and if this card is tribute summoned, you can target a card on the field and 1 card in either player's graveyard, and if this card is tribute summoned by tributing a wind monster, which we did with the copy of Eaglin, you can actually gain the ability to target 2 cards on the field, which is really good. And then it has the ability that if you tributed a wind monster, you can target an additional monster, or you can target an additional card in the field and place the first target on the top of the deck in any order, and after that return the additional target, if any, to the hand. So we can actually target the card in the graveyard and add it back to hand, which is going to be the copy of Pot of Duality that we're just going to grab back, which is going to help us out. And then we bounce 2 cards in the opponent's field back to their deck, and then we can go ahead and go into our turn, which we're going to draw into a copy of D-Shifter, which is not going to be that big of a deal. These cards would actually be banished, but that's not that big of a deal because we have plenty of plays in the deck to be able to go for, because we have Book of Moon that we can set a card, we have Call by the Grave to stop a hand trap, and we also have the copy of Feather Duster to deal with any back row that our opponent set during their turn, which is really awesome. That's a pretty much a bread and butter combo of Floowandereeze to be able to just go in for all those different plays, go in for Ryza during the opponent's turn, and go for Barrier Statue at the end of your turn, which is just really nice. I really like that field. That was a really good one to be able to start with, especially with this deck, because this deck can go in for some really crazy plays. But that's pretty much the bread and butter combo of Floowandereeze that you guys are going to see during this video, that you're going to be able to go for the copy of Rabina, Rabina to Eaglin, Eaglin to Impin, Impin to Dreaming Town set, pass to the opponent after you grab the copy of the Eaglin and the Rabina off the copy of Impin being summoned, and then during the opponent's turn, flip the copy of your Dreaming Town, and then go for Barrier Statue Stormwinds after normal summoning out the Rabina, which is the main combo of the deck to be able to shut down the opponent. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Barrier Statue Stormwinds, a copy of Straya, Eaglin, a copy of D-Shifter, and a copy of our Advent for Adventure. Now this hand is really good for this particular hand, because we opened up the copy of Barrier Statue of Stormwinds so we can end with it, and we have the copy of D-Shifter that can shut down the opponent's entire turn. So we're going to go ahead and discard the copy of D-Shifter to lock down the graveyard. Now everything's getting banished. So we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of our Advent for Adventure to be able to banish the copy of Straya to be able to search the deck and gain 500 life points by searching the copy of Rabina, which is going to be really good to be able to just banish that card and add it from deck to hand so we can get our plays really rolling. So at this point, we're going to normal summon out the copy of Rabina. Rabina's effect is going to go off, but we already have a copy of Eaglin in our hand, and we have a copy of Stormwinds, so we can search a copy of Toucan or Harpy Harpist, which is a really awesome tech card that I play in the deck, because I just play it as a 1-of, but it comes in very handy if you open up a copy of Harpy's Feather Storm, because you can actually activate this card from the hand, which is just really neat. So I'm actually going to summon out the copy, or search out the copy of Toucan, because Toucan can get some of our banished cards back, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to just get some of our cards back. We're then going to normal summon out the copy of Eaglin to the field, which Eaglin's effect is going to go off, searching Impin. We're then going to tribute both of these cards off, and we're going to go like this. This is actually a really important chain link for the deck, that we're going to use chain link 1 Impin, chain link 2 for Rabina, Eaglin, and then Stria to be able to grab all three of these back to the hand, but it's very important to chain block it because you're going to normal summon this out and then chain block with these so that your opponent can't ash it, which is kind of neat. So we're actually going to search the deck for a copy of our Dreaming Town, just like we did before, to be able to go in for those plays. So we're getting 4 cards off of a Tribute Summon, which is just absolutely nuts. So we've already gone +2 in this hand. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go for our play that we can get an additional normal summon, which we can have a copy of Toucan in the hand, which is really good because this card has the ability that you can activate the effect that if this card is normal summon, you can target one of your Floowandereeze cards and add it to the hand. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the Toucan, grab the copy of Advent for Adventure, and then gain that additional normal summon to be able to normal summon out the copy of Barrier Statue of Stormwinds, which is going to be really helpful to go ahead and lock down the opponent. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent after setting the copy of our Dreaming Town and the copy of Advent for Adventure, so that if they do hit it with like a Cosmic Cyclone, we do have a chance that they're not going to hit the copy of Dreaming Town, but you can also chain the copy of Dreaming Town to it. So we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Dreaming Town and kind of do the same thing that we did before, that we're going to get a normal summon of Rabina. Rabina is going to go off, search a copy of any of our level 4 monsters at this point. It doesn't really matter which one you grab. I'm probably just going to grab Harpy Harpist so I can have it in the hand. We're going to go ahead and then summon out a copy of Eaglin, which Eaglin is then going to go off to be able to search the deck for Ryza. And then you can go in for the Ryza once your opponent puts 2 cards on the field, because you're going to get rid of those cards off the field to be able to then summon out that copy of Ryza, which is really, really good. And I believe these cards actually will go back to the hand because this card has the ability that if a Winged Beast monster is normal or special summon, you can activate the effect to add these cards back to your hand. So you just add them back to the hand all over again, which is just really, really cool. And I really like that effect a lot. You can also use the copy of Advent for Adventure to be able to banish something like a copy of Stria to be able to search the deck for another copy of a Floowandereeze monster. So you can actually add your copy of Snowl to hand off this effect, which is really, really good to be able to get that additional monster to the hand, or you can grab one of your other cards that you want. But we already kind of have the setup with all 4 of the different birds in our hand that we can kind of float through them, which is kind of neat. So at this point, basically what you've done against the opponent is you've bounced 2, you have this card that's locking down anything that's special summoned in attack position, so you're basically making them put them in defense position, and they can't special summon because you have the copy of your Barrier Statue of Stormwinds to shut them down, which is really, really good. And now we can go in for the OTK during the next turn, because they're probably not going to establish all that much with this field. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Extravagance, which it does not matter what we banish from the extra deck at all. So we're going to go ahead and banish 6, and I'm going to show you guys really quickly what we actually hit. It doesn't matter what we hit because it doesn't really count for the deck. The shifter is turned off at the beginning of our turn, and we're going to get to draw 2 cards, which is going to be a copy of Feather Duster and a copy of Harpy's Feather Storm. So we can actually activate Feather Duster, get rid of the back row, and then if you want to, you can go ahead and normal summon out to the field your copy of your Rabina. Rabina will go off and get us a search, and we're just going to go full combo, like full on play, because we can right now, to be able to grab a copy of Stria if we want to. And then we can also chain to the copy of Rabina before we target our card in the deck. We can actually grab the Stria that we have banished to be able to grab that card back from our deck to our hand, and then tribute the copies of our Toucan and Rabina to summon out the copy of Snowl, and then grab back these 2 that are banished. And then you also have the copy of Snowl that once per turn, while you control this tribute summon monster, you can conduct 3 tribute summons this turn, 3 normal summons this turn. So I'm going to go ahead and use that and normal summon out the copy of Harpy Harpist. Because I have a Harpy on the field, I can activate Harpy's Feather Storm, and then we can go in for game with this field, because that's how powerful the deck is. You can seriously go in for fields like this all the time in this deck, and we still have 5 monsters in hand to be able to still go combo, and I have 1 Impin left in the deck to be able to really go full combo as well. And even if they get rid of the Impin that I have on the field, I can then just banish it with Stria and then get it back with Toucan and then be able to go in for the rest of the plays, because let's just say that they board wipe me. I'm going to show you guys a really interesting combo with Stria Toucan. Let's just say that all these cards went to the graveyard. For some reason, they didn't banish and they just went to the graveyard. The opponent didn't OTK us. What you can actually do with a cool combo is normal summon Stria. Stria effect will be able to target a card in the graveyard and banish it, and then give you an additional normal summon, banish the copy of Impin, and then normal summon out the Toucan. Toucan effect grabs back a Floowandereeze card, which is the copy of Impin, tribute both of these, and then you get your Impin right back, which is kind of neat. Now, these will be banished from the graveyard instead of being in the graveyard, but let's just say that you got the copy of Impin at that point because it hit the grave. So you can actually recover it that way, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and go into the next test hand and see what we can pull off for the next one, because as you guys can see, this deck is really fun, really consistent, and really awesome to play. This deck is a deck that I wouldn't hesitate to carry to a locals, regionals, any kind of tournament and compete with, because it is that powerful at shutting down the opponent, and it has a lot of bounce back and a lot of being able to just basically go in for full combo off of just a normal summon, which is really awesome, especially with cards like Pot of Duality and Extravagance, because you just don't care what gets banished in the extra deck, which makes the deck a little bit more budget, because you don't have to play an extra deck with this deck that you're actually going to summon out of. So you can just play 15 random cards in the extra deck, and that's totally fine to be able to play full combo in the deck. I do recommend to play the Nightingales, but other than that, and Zeus and Downard, you really kind of just pick what you want in the extra deck. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next test hand. If you guys would like to check out the deck profile, as always, it is down in the description down below. But let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next test hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Extravagance, Rabina, we've already got full combo, Stria, a copy of Advent for Adventure, and a D-Shifter. So this is really good because we can go ahead and activate the copy of Extravagance. This is actually a really interesting strategy for the deck, is you can actually activate Extravagance and then chain the D-Shifter, because it has the ability that it's a quick effect. So you can chain it to the copy of Extravagance. So this will touch the graveyard first before the Extravagance does, but you still activated the Extravagance first to make sure that it went off. So you're going to go ahead and use Extrav, banish off your 6 for the copy of Extravagance, doesn't matter what it is, chain the D-Shifter, and then the D-Shifter is now live, that everything's getting banished, which is kind of neat, because now you can just go full combo, because now you have all these plays. Now we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Advent for Adventure, because I'm actually going to search Barrier Statue Stormwinds off the copy of Rabina instead. I want to go ahead and grab from the deck a different Floowander card, so we're actually going to grab a copy of Eagland instead, which is going to be really important to grab that copy of Eagland. We're actually going to go back into the deck again in just a second, but what we're going to do is just normal summon out the Rabina and then use its effect to be able to chain block with our copy of Stria that's banished, just to make sure that it goes through. Grab the copy of Stria back with its own effect, use Rabina to be able to grab from the deck a copy of Barrier Statue of Stormwinds. Again, I'm showing you guys, make sure that you pile shuffle, because all 3 of those were stuck together. And then you're going to go ahead and normal summon the copy of the Eagland to the field. Eagland is going to go off, and then you're going to search out your copy of Impin, just like we did before, and then Impin will go off and we'll get to normal summon again, which is kind of neat. So go ahead and tribute off these 2 on your side of the field, summon out the copy of Impin, Impin will go off, the copy of Rabina and Eagland will go off to be able to just chain block the copy of this. So you're going to go chain link 1, chain link 2, and 3, grab these back to hand. And then we're going to search the deck for our trap card, which is the Floowandereeze and the Dreaming Town. So we're going to go ahead and grab that from deck to hand, and then we can go ahead and just go full combo with this particular hand. You can go ahead and normal summon at this point the copy of the Stria if you want to make the D-Shifter live, because you can banish the copy of the D-Shifter that's banished, or the D-Shifter that's in the graveyard, to make this one live that you can just activate it at the beginning of the opponent's turn and turn it off again, which is really cool, at the beginning of your turn to make sure that you get a full 4 turns of D-Shifter. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and summon out the Barrier Statue of Stormwinds, which the graveyard is still locked down, even though we banished the copy of D-Shifter. And then we're going to set down the copy of the Dreaming Town and pass over to the opponent. So once they go ahead and go into their turn, if they can't deal with anything on the field, which usually they can't, we're going to go ahead and activate the Dreaming Town just like we did before. Normal summon out the Rabina. Rabina goes off, searches from deck a copy of, say, Harpy Harpist, and then we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of Eaglin. Eaglin is going to go off, and we're going to search out Ryza. Ryza is then going to normal summon out to the field by tributing both of these, special summon out the Ryza, chain both of these to the Ryza, add them back to hand, and then this card will be banished, which is totally fine, and you're able to bounce 2, which is really cool. So at that point, you're going to go ahead and pass back over to you, because you probably just bounced their entire normal summon. They're going to pass back over to you. We're going to draw, activate D-Shifter to re-lock down the graveyard, and usually at that point the opponent scoops, but we're going to go ahead and activate the Duality, reveal the top 3, which is a copy of Harpy's Feather Storm, which I'm going to grab that Harpy's Feather Storm. And then we're just going to normal summon out. You can keep going if you want to, but you don't really have to. You can just normal summon out the copy of Rabina, and then Rabina will search another card to the field. Or instead of normal summoning out the Rabina, you can normal summon out the Eaglin to get a search, which would be really cool to grab the copy of Snowl, which is why I actually bumped the Snowl into the deck. This could be your copy of Apex Avian instead, but I like the copy of Snowl because it does piercing. So we're going to go ahead and tribute both of these on the field, summon out the copy of Snowl. These will then chain to the summon and then add back to hand. We're then going to get that additional normal summon the Harpy Harpist, activate Harpy's Feather Storm, and then we just go in for game with all these cards. So I think that pretty much shows how to play Floowandereeze. This deck is super fun. It's highly competitive. It's super fun to play, and it's just really powerful. Like, this deck is absolutely nuts and absolutely tier 1 and super fun to play. I love Floowandereeze, and it's actually one of my favorite decks that I've been playing recently, especially with just how powerful it is and how you can just chain block the Impin with the copies of Rabina and Eaglin. So anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.